Happy Wednesday, everybody. This is January 11th, and yeah, so we're not even 2 weeks into the year, and I am already zecked again for 30 days. And what did I do, you ask? I made a fat joke in a group. It's supposed to be for making fat jokes. But yeah, literally, out of all the offensive content that I posted in the last few months on Facebook since they let me come back, I made a video about that the last time, but this is what they flag. And even if we just take a look at, I'm not going to tell on myself, but the stuff that I posted just in the last week alone, this is what they flag. You know, that's not counting the direct insults that I make to people who deserve it, any harsh comments about people's life choices, and certainly none of the comments that I've made about mental illnesses that get glorified. Just a really simple, basic bat joke. But yeah, so why don't we go through some of the most hilarious ways to break Facebook community guidelines? I want to leave out blatant hate speech, although that is funny to some. It's definitely not good. It's not right. We're not going to talk about that on YouTube, but we are going to target the hilarious ways that Facebook's AI falsely flags things uh, for 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 issues such as bullying, incitement to violence, and other things that aren't actually wrong to say. Um, so I do want to take a minute or two to explain the rules of engagements I hold myself to when I make a joke. So to some, it may seem like I have no limits, but I actually do. A good example is I'm not going to make fun of someone for something that they can't help or change. Like, for example, while someone's skin color is a thing that can't be changed, another example is weight gain from a medical condition. So medical conditions are never okay to make jokes about, although I won't ever treat obesity as a medical condition in the context of humor. Another thing not to make fun of is someone's disability. So jokes about someone who is clearly disabled in some way that viciously target that particular disability, those are also never okay. So, like, for example, you shouldn't make fun of somebody in a wheelchair for being in a wheelchair. You shouldn't make fun of somebody with Down syndrome for having Downs, and the list goes on. But what I do make jokes about very specifically are about people who make a spectacle of themselves by displaying blatant ignorance about a topic, including their own health, and people who are in fact quite bigoted and hateful, and anyone who is some sort of jerk. So yes, I will also make fun of your bad boss, and I'll probably swear about it too. Uh, so humor works because it pushes the envelope of what is considered socially acceptable and what is taboo. Laughter happens when the human brain can't properly understand something it just took in as input, whether it's visual or audibly. Uh, so tickling the brain really is an art, and you can't have humor without ruffling feathers, because some people just can't take a joke, no matter how innocuous the joke is. Social media pushes this even further because we're in a situation where we see a higher concentration of certain subject matters. This is mainly due to the fact anyone can create a group or page focusing on a particular subject. For example, I am in a number of fat shaming groups, and the people in those groups, like myself, take pleasure in calling out the poor choices of the morbidly obese that got them there and keep them there. There are a number of other groups that target different types of content for humor, but we're going to stick with fat shaming for this video. So let's dive into the hilarious ways that you can get banned from Facebook. I'll go over examples of where I have been personally banned, as well as showing other potentially zuckable content that may never be flagged, or at least hasn't been flagged yet because I'm gathering screenshots as I record this. I also want to point out that officially this should be construed as a guide on what not to do, and you shouldn't do these things yourself on your account because they will likely cause you to violate these rules and get zucked as well. All right, so let's talk about um, Facebook community standards on bullying and harassment. So this is literally the section, the rules that my post uh, had violated. And we'll talk about what my post was here in a minute, but let's talk about what Facebook officially says on bullying and harassment. So there actually is a link with a big long article. I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but my ban came under this section for what they call it is tier 4, and it's a list of 7 different tiers that all of them are just flat out disallowed on Facebook. You can't even explain yourself. Um, and so, yeah, so we'll talk about this and let's discuss what each of these actually means. So, tier 4 target private individuals or limited scope public figures. For example, individuals whose primary fame is limited to their activism, journalism, or those who became famous through involuntary means, with comparisons to animals or insects that are culturally perceived as intellectually or physically inferior, or to an inanimate object. Example, cow, monkey, potato. So in those examples, they are specifically talking about like cow is clearly for a fat person, monkey is clearly a racial slur to black people, and potato is clearly a slur referencing the mentally handicapped. Um, so content manipulated to highlight, circle, or otherwise negatively draw attention to specific physical characteristics, nose, ear, and so on. In this case, fatness would absolutely be one of those things, like your big fat ass or something like that. Attacks through negative physical description. Again, fatness is part of this because really there's nothing nice to say about someone who's fat. I mean, once you say they're fat, I mean, it doesn't go in a good positive light anyway because there's nothing positive about being fucking fat. Uh, Content that ranks individuals on physical appearance or personality. So so again, because this is in the scope of uh, like private individuals that have limited fame. So these aren't celebrities. So you can absolutely make a list of celebrities, that who you think is the hottest. But if you want to make a list of um, like your coworkers, for example, that you work with or your friends, and say, oh, this person is hotter than this, but this person's just ugly, that's going to get you flagged under tier 4. Content sexualizing another adult. Um, so that one's kind of a slippery slope because we do live in a society where sexualizing people is really common, and a lot of people choose to, enter what they call adult entertainment and sex work, whatever you want to call it. So there are people who sexualize themselves, but there are people who don't. So like, for example, if you wanted to get banned, you would make a comment about someone's, like a woman's breasts or something like that. Content that further degrades individuals who are depicted being physically bullied except in self-defense and fight sport contexts. So that's definitely something not cool, to make fun of somebody who's art. Like if it's a video of somebody that's being bullied at school, for example, you absolutely shouldn't be making fun of that person that's getting bullied further, even if they do have something that's laughable, like for example, maybe they are fat. Yeah, but if it's already showing them being bullied, then you should not say anything more. So content that praises, celebrates, or mocks their death or serious physical injury. So again, this is, target private individuals, just regular people, or limited scope public figures. So could be an activist, a journalist, or so specifically those who became famous through involuntary means. An example of that would be someone like Kyle Rittenhouse. So any sort of content that praises, celebrates, or mocks somebody's death or serious physical injury. Um, and I don't really think I need to further define that because that's pretty clear. But I guess if you have questions or you need further clarification, there's comments below, and I'm sure that I will read it and answer your questions. But you can also discuss amongst yourself. Anyway, so in addition to the above, attached to pages or groups, negative character or ability claims. So if you, for example, made a Facebook page making fun of your boss that you don't like or your old boss, and we'll just assume that your old boss is just, I don't know, a guy that works at a restaurant that's still, completely local restaurant, again, private individual. And and you wanted to say that John Doe can't run a store. John Doe can't run. John Doe can't do anything. Or John Doe likes to touch children. Those are all going to fall under negative character or ability claims. First person voice bullying only if the object targets more than one private individual. So out of everything that I was able to comprehend, I'm not exactly sure what they mean by first person voice bullying. So I don't know if they're talking like doing an actual voiceover. I don't know if they're just, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, making a page to maybe pretend to be somebody and being, well, I'm John Doe and I like to steal from my waitresses or something like that. Um, so that's going to be, uh, those are the rules uh, that are specifically targeting like bullying, tier 4, bullying and harassment. So, like, for example, tier 1 harassment is just giving somebody unwanted attention, constantly messaging them, for example, and they tell you not to, and you keep doing it. I mean, I get it. There's a block function, and people are not too smart about that bot. That's actually not mitigating the issue of people going through other people's accounts, going through fake accounts, whatever, to get to the same person. But anyway, so you're probably at this point in time wondering, what on God's green earth did I say to get zucked? So here's the meme that I saw. Here, it's what I posted. It's of a Hooters waitress that's being slammed by trolls for fearing she'll steal food from the table. And there's a picture of her, and she's quite large. And so so 23 stone, that's UK weight. And in America, we would call that person 322 pounds. And so she's definitely quite large. And, so at some point in the discussion, I had made a comment, replied to somebody's comment, said, "Bitch be creating fault lines everywhere she goes." So again, so this was in a fat shaming group. Like literally everybody's in here making comments along those lines. Um, so people are always getting zucked in there in groups like that. It's just one of those dangers of going in there. Everybody that does it knows that this probably will happen at some point. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I can see why it got banned. It absolutely violates that. I mean, most of the time when I've been banned, I do see justifiably why they banned me. It's just annoying. It's a nuisance. But yeah, especially because I have this sense of humor that challenges left books guidelines, and I really don't care. But here's the thing: obesity is disgusting. It's unhealthy. And there is a major crisis in America with obesity at all ages. Other countries who have healthier habits regularly make jokes about how fat people in America are. And they absolutely should. This body positivity movement is more harmful than any amount of fat jokes because it glorifies unhealthy choices. For decades, fat people have misappropriated words to describe their bodies using polite words for positive things about other body types. A prime example is thick. Thick was never meant to be fat. Yet there are blatantly fat people using this term to try and minimize the reality of their situation. There is also the term BBW and all of its variants, like mini BBW and SS BBW, which is supersized. But BBW means big, beautiful woman. And this term is incredibly subjective and inaccurate, is because beauty is always in the eye of the beholder. So obviously, most people don't see um, fat as something beautiful. Uh, Yet many women are encouraged to use this terminology instead of acknowledging that they're fat and have a health problem. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with someone who finds a fat woman beautiful. Some people even prefer that, and there isn't anything wrong with that. So just because somebody is fat doesn't mean they don't deserve love. And if you want to love a fat woman, you should absolutely do it. I know many fat women who are wonderful people. As a society, though, we do need to return to honesty. We need to shame any sort of sugarcoating that people use as a coping mechanism for their extremely unhealthy state. If you are so fat that you have to be sent to the zoo for an MRI, you should probably work on losing some weight. Talk to your doctor, go to the gym, see a dietitian, and stick to that diet. Count calories, spend less time on your ass. Walk around the store instead of riding the scooter because you're damned lazy. Make changes. That's it. You don't have to be thin to be healthy, but there is a limit to how much fat you can have before you are unhealthy. Out of all the comments I've made this past week alone that were far worse than this one, this was really tame. Realistically, I think I was auto banned because I used the word bitch. Um, you've really got to be careful with the words you choose on social media because of auto banning from AI bots that don't understand context. And so the reason why I'm pretty sure it was an auto ban because of the word bitch, because I actually caught myself being banned in real time. Like I went to go comment or something, and all of a sudden, at first it said I had a 24-hour ban, and I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe they're reset my history. Maybe they're giving me a second chance. I'll be nice for the next while. I'll cool off. I was getting a lot of laugh reacts on stuff. That was probably my clue that I needed to slow the hell down. But and then right after that, it turned right into another 30-day ban, and it's like, you know what, Facebook, fuck you. But so last year, I posted a video explaining all my bans that happened in 2022. This was back in October, and I didn't get banned after I got unbanned. But almost all of those bans were due to a bot that doesn't understand context. For example, one of those bans was because a friend of mine had his Facebook hacked, and whoever hacked it posted from his profile that he said he had died. Later on, he got back in and let everybody know what happened. He's still alive. Uh, and so I said to him, if you did die, I'd fly down to Texas and kick your ass back to life. And for that statement, I was then zucked for 30 days for incitement to violence. I still have no idea how it arrived at that conclusion other than flagging the phrase, kick your ass. Furthermore, I love the hell out of this friend and I would never bring him harm. So, if you reach this point, just want to let you know this video wasn't meant to be an exhaustive list on how to break rules on Facebook. In fact, I never meant to make such a list. I mean, we're here on YouTube, they have their rules, and I'm not going to sit here and recommend or tell you to do something that's not good, that you shouldn't. Uh, I just wanted to have an honest and frank conversation about how bots and social media policies are grossly out of touch with reality. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, you really shouldn't. Just because I do something that's messed up doesn't mean you should. Um, I mean, if you're going to do something messed up, you need to do it because you're messed up too. So, but all right, that was just this video, and I'll see you on the next one.